What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with Holden. Talk a little more CBB. College basketball, as the cool kids say it. For Sunday, February the 21st, we're going to chat specifically on Houston, Cincinnati, Ohio State, Michigan, a little bit on St. Bonnie's, Davidson, and even Holden has his best bet for the Rutgers, Maryland game.
Even Holden? What the fuck is that? Even Holden? I won last week.
Well, hold on, I want to be clear. The reason I said it like that was because I said to you before the show, hey, let's pick a bet from these three games. And you specifically choose a bet from Rutgers, Maryland. So that's why I say even Holden is going to talk about Maryland, Rutgers, because that's where his best bet is.
Oh, you told me to try and bet one of those three games? I know everything about those games, so don't worry about it. We're set. I thought you were taking a dig at me, you son of a bitch. No, I have a filthy mouth. My sister's sitting in the other room. She's listening to this, okay? I told you already. There's a porn star. There's a 50-year-old squirter, but we got to get to the college basketball first.
Well, I think we could do it again where at the end of the show, if people have not, hung themselves listening to us talk, they probably will want to hear, your stories because I'm always interested in them.
Yeah. So here's the deal, chat. You get in early. Do you want to hear about the squirter or the porn star? So that's it. Let's get into some basketball, buddy.
Yes.
Let's do this.
So we're coming into this week off of 2-0 last week with you hitting Wisconsin in the first half. And then I hit that Bradley team total under at 61.5. I have another team total I like today for a game. But real quick, because I know it's been a decent run for me this past week or so, Virginia last night was super tilting for me. Now I have a little bit of Virginia bias, and it's my stepmother went there. My father lives there. There's a lot of Virginia fans on that side of the family. So they're not a team I often bet because I don't want to come off like, oh, I'm betting them because I like them. But there are certain spots where they just make a lot of sense. I said in the video that was on here yesterday in the Discord and multiple times that I felt the only shot Duke had was if they had to just really shoot well in that game. And they did, but Virginia goes stagnant with 3 minutes left, not scoring one basket. Tony Bennett, I consider one of the best coaches in college basketball. That was a big game for them to win. It was surprising. A lot of the head scratching decisions. Kihei Clark, the point guard, just so many shot clock violations with him with the ball in his hands late. He did the same thing, and of course, non-coincidentally, he ends the game with the ball in his hands. Doesn't even get a shot off. Super tilting. But look, you move on from that, and we're excited to attack this slate today.
All right. Before we get into this, so we did the show 2 weeks ago, and it was Super Bowl show. And then I think there was a pick that you put out, and it's basically been almost 2 weeks now. My bankroll has just gone ridiculously high. It really, just for me, I bet the biggest bet I've ever had in college basketball the other night. It hit because of JJ. Put another one in for our premium pick today, So there is a pick that JJ has that he's not giving out on the free show, but he's been on fire. Like, this is the second time since you and I have been working together, probably second time in 9 months that you've just been on an unconscionable heater. I've been telling all the guys on the DFS side, I hope they're listening by now. I do a show at JSU. I'm like, JSU, you got to get on board here. So if people want to check this out, just even for a week, how do you get in there this week? This is a free show, but there is a premium pick, and there's a lot of premium picks. So how do they get in for a week, JJ?
Yeah, just runpurebets.com. You can sign up code BETS25 off for $15. With that code, it'll be a total $15. You'll get all our content. We have a lot of privatized video content. I mean, I do about 2 or 3 shows a week. Privately, and then ultimately there's all sports. I mean, I only cover a certain amount of sports, but we have guys that cover every sport. We're in the Discord talking with you guys as well. So it's just pretty fun. Again, it's only $15 a month or $15 a week with the code. It'll be $45 a month with the code if you do it. If you use the code for the month. But again, like I said, try it out. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I find it hard to believe you won't. A lot of people enjoy the Discord, enjoy the video content, and of course you get the picks as well.
That's the big thing. I mean, $15. Like, who doesn't bet $15? What's $15 for 1 week? Tailing a red hot guy here. A lot of pressure on you, though. No doubt about it. And I like putting the pressure on you. But you're a pretty cool customer. I mean, you're out in Jersey. You had to deal with Vinny the Peas Pie or Benny the Fish or whatever. So what are you looking at? What's going on over there?
You see, that's racist, Holden. Why is a local Paisan got to be Benny the Fish?
Because I knew a guy named Benny the Fish. And Romeo used to cut my grandpa's hair. So, yeah, Benny the Fish, Vinny the Squeak, something else too. Yeah. You know any guys like with good names?
Paulie the Hammer.
Get the fuck out of here. Do you really know Paulie the Hammer?
No, I could only assume my dad knows countless guys like that, but no,
you got to get your dad back on. Nice job getting us Osaka, but he had Medvedev and who was the other one? Birdie. They didn't make it, so I got to take your dad down. Bring him back on the show.
That's right. Bring him down.
bring him back.
See, Joey Work says dress alike for Sundays. I mean, we got different shirts on. We got different hats.
Well,
Holden wore a hat because he looks like he stuck a fork in an electric socket.
You know what? Screw it. If Joey Work is going to bust balls, I asked Joey Work to come on my show last night. For Joey Work, I've had like 8 shows in a row. Joey asked me to hop on one time. I hopped on. I did it for him. I didn't want to do it. Joey Work's like, I want to stay away from my computer this weekend. Well, now what is he doing? He's typing in the chat. Joey Work, go back to sleep. Joey the fish.
Disclaimer, we like and appreciate all that Joey Work does.
Yeah, but I still want to bust his balls. Come on, man. That's all I do. It's me and him, we bust balls. That's the other thing I love about Run Pure is that everybody just crushes each other. You're very nice, though. You don't bust balls enough. So let's get into a game. Which one do you want to start with? Cincy Houston? You don't want to start with my bet. Let's get one of your bets here. Cincy Houston?
Yeah, so this Cincinnati, I'm just trying to pull up what the exact line is now because I know these lines tend to see a lot of steam right before these games. Looks like we are still pretty good. Okay, so I really like Houston's team total over 74.5. It is currently at FanDuel in New Jersey, -106. And it's for quite a few reasons. So Houston comes into this game off the Wichita State loss, and now they draw Cincinnati, which will be the fastest tempoed team in conference that they have played. There's only really 2 teams in this entire conference that play at tempo, and it's Houston and Memphis. I mean, it's Cincinnati and Memphis. Obviously, Houston plays very slow, but I really expect Cincinnati to speed this game up. Remember, Mick Cronin does not coach this team anymore. He's over at UCLA. And now they have the Northern Kentucky guy, John Brannon, who never really coaches a team to play super fast when he was at Northern Kentucky, but a team was efficient and they did run with teams that wanted to run. But this team in this conference, it seems like he's kind of changed up his style a bit. This conference is filled with a lot of snails. So he's definitely taken the approach of let's speed things up. Our offense isn't that efficient. We don't have a lot of good scorers or efficient guys offensively. So let's speed things up. And when you look at how this game plays out, the only path to victory that Cincinnati has is going to be to speed this game up. Houston's one of the best half-court defenses in college basketball. I know they had a little bit of a lull here against Wichita, but at home, this team is an absolute machine. Now, the reason why I'm not so sure, the reason why I don't want to lay the points versus taking Houston's team total over is because with the way Cincinnati speed things up, I'm a little concerned Houston might have some struggles, at least initially, covering this team in transition. Again, Houston has played a lot of the snails in this conference. This is going to be a huge tempo boost. Not to say Houston can't run. Over the last few years, Houston has proven that they have no issue running the ball up and down the court with teams that want and like to run because they're just more efficient. So they don't mind running if you want to run. However, this could be a little bit of an eye-opener for them trying to run at this pace. And again, not that Cincinnati plays at a blaze, but this is going to be an above-average pace for what Houston's used to. Houston's the best team in effective field goal percentage in all of D1. These are the types of things you look for when you want to pick a national champion. But the problem is that this team, where they were better last year, they lack a lot of good scores. I mean, their effective field goal percentage is very low compared to last year. However, this Cincinnati team is quite forgiving on defense. I know that their defensive numbers, at least from an advanced side of things, may look good. This team fouls a ton. They appear to be above average from 3, but look who they've played. This entire conference in the American is filled with teams that do not shoot the 3-ball well. Not that Houston shoots it super well themselves, but they're better than most teams in this conference. And I expect Houston to get a lot of good looks, especially if they decide to take some of these long misses from Cincinnati into transition to get easy buckets. Overall, this team in Houston is seemingly much better at home defensively, but they're also much better at home offensively. I expect them to embrace the extra tempo Cincinnati is going to bring to them, give them extra possessions. And by the way, Cincinnati tends to be a turnover machine. There's just so many avenues where Houston's going to free themselves up from so many extra possessions. I mean, Houston's 37th in forcing turnovers. Cincinnati's 268 in turning the ball over. Houston's first in the country on the offensive glass. And I know Cincinnati's got good numbers, but the only team Cincinnati played that's been good on the offensive glass was South Florida. South Florida had 15 boards on the offensive glass. I expect Houston to do something similar. All these factors considered, tempo, more possessions between the offensive glass and the turnovers, I expect Houston to have all these extra possessions, which should result in their ability to get over that 74.5 number.
Nice. And Houston got Fabian White back too. So he came back. The whole thing with Houston, they're just playing like garbage, though. That's the problem. So we know Houston is a terrific, like a top 10 defensive team. But you're saying that a lot of that is because of the teams that they played and the pace that they play?
Yeah, I think that the top 10 defensive team is really based on a per possession basis, so it kind of like excludes tempo. But they're also a 16th ranked offense per possession. So I just think they've played a bunch of snails, and they've played, no, I'm wrong, and they've played a bunch of teams that are at least relatively good defensively. This team is going to see a tempo boost today, and I personally am not someone who trusts this Cincinnati defense on any front. John Brennan has never been a true defensive guy. He's more offensive minded. He was like that way at Northern Kentucky. And this team's already starting to see some fallout on the defensive side. And again, I just think this is a bad matchup for Cincinnati. And the reason why I don't want to lay the points is because I do think there is a scenario where Cincinnati scores today. And I just find it more favorable to grab Houston's team total over.
All right, so I got a pick here. I'm going to throw mine out, and then obviously the rest of the picks are going to be yours. But you can't bet on Rutgers by you, can you? In Jersey.
Oh, it's illegal.
Can you drive to Pennsylvania and do it?
I could.
Not
I
that you would
could,
want
I could
to.
go right down Route 80 or up Route 80.
How long does that take?
It'll be about an hour and 10, hour and 15.
That's not worth it. My pick's not worth driving an hour and 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, it might not be worth a second of your time, but I'm going to give it to you anyways.
Okay.
So we got Rutgers and Maryland today. You got a much more efficient offense in Rutgers that we're seeing. Love Ron Harper Jr., by the way. Fun guy to watch. Miles Johnson. These are the stars. The Knights won the first meeting by 14. That really doesn't matter, right? But the third toughest schedule in the nation. How about that for Rutgers? They've been playing some tough dudes. Love their defense, too. They held Michigan scoreless for, I believe, at least 6 minutes. Might even been 8 minutes. Maryland's playing a little better. They've won 3 in a row. I get it. Ayala and Wiggins, they're going to have to shoot lights out. They're going to have to shoot threes to win this one. I just think Maryland's too inconsistent offensively. Rutgers is the better team. And I like Rutgers minus 4.5. Got it at minus 4. I think you can find it at 4.5 right now. I think this is one of the worst Maryland teams that Turgeon has had. So while not as detailed of a breakdown as JJ, just digging into this thing, I have a problem backing a Maryland team that I just have no idea if they're going to hit their threes or not. And I do feel like Rutgers is just the better basketball team. This is a win today. They get in here, get yourself in a tournament, start rolling. Rutgers minus, now it's 4.5. I'll go Rutgers minus 4.5 against Maryland. If you were going to bet this game, JJ, do you have a lean or would have been a fade?
So I've said this, a few times already over the last few weeks that I've more or less been avoiding the Big Ten entirely. It has more to do with my own numbers have just been so off on that conference. And I think it's more because I've basically lowered home court advantage this year, but the Big Ten has some dominant home teams and some really bad road teams. So it's hard for me to just take that conference in general and just adjust the numbers for that conference. Because then if that comes back to if that median's out over these last few games, then I just look like an asshole. So for me, I've been avoiding the Big Ten almost entirely. But with that said, Maryland is a team on the road, like many of these Big Ten teams that just can't get it together.
Can't do it.
I didn't. So to me, I would never back Maryland in the spot. Now they could win, they could come on the road and obviously win outright. It's a small line. Rutgers is definitely not exactly elite. But, yeah, it is tough to back some of these Big Ten teams on the road. And I'm sure if you've been doing it or anybody who's been doing it, there's no way you've made money this year.
I've just been watching Maryland for a long time under Turgeon since he came there. And really before that, too. And this by far and away it's just ugly. It's an ugly team. Rutgers is the better team. If you're backing Michigan, if you're backing Maryland, you're hoping they probably shoot 50% from behind the arc. To me, that's the only way that they're going to win this game. So, give me Rutgers today, minus 4.5. Where do you want to go next? Do you want to hit Michigan, Ohio State?
Yeah, we could talk on it again. I'm not going to have a bet on it, but I will talk you guys through some some things on it. So for one thing, so this line opens. It opens what I believe to be as a KenPom line with Ohio State -1. That's what I believe it opened at. Yeah, so it opened Ohio State -1.5. Now, early this morning, so that line sat there for over 24 hours. It opened on Saturday morning. Sat there for almost 24 hours with no movement. And then a large amount of Michigan steam comes through. 3 points of a swing. Michigan -1.5. Are there any twos out? No, it looks like primarily Michigan -1.5. So we've seen some interesting things this year with steam. And I'll say this on the record that this year, more than I can remember, steam late in games has been losing at a very high clip. And it's just not something I'm used to seeing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not somebody who tails steam, fades steam, whatever, but ultimately I'm looking for certain numbers to pop, and that's where I'm targeting. But this year, more than ever, I've seen a lot of questionable steam that's resulted in losses. So I'm not saying for you to do certain things, but at the end of the day, your job is to get good numbers. Don't look at a steam move like this one where you see a 3-point move and you're like, oh, I got to back Michigan because of this line movement. I mean, no, if you've been doing that this year, you've been also losing a lot of money. It's also not the right way to bet sports to begin with. Ultimately, at minimum, Ohio State would make the sense to back in this spot after the steam move. If you liked Ohio State, don't be deterred because of some movement that you don't understand. If you like Ohio State, bet them. I mean, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Getting good numbers. Now, I'm not saying Ohio State's going to win outright or Michigan's. I don't know because I told you I haven't bet much in the Big Ten at all. But just talking steam movements in general, do your best to just get good numbers. Don't worry about fading or not fading. Now, onto this game in particular. So Ohio
just real quick,
yeah.
Michigan went from 1.5-point dogs, right?
They went from
to the favorite.
1.5 dogs to 1.5 favorites. Yeah, it was like
60% of the bets.
It was like a
60% of the handle.
What happened?
Yeah, everyone's on their side.
Yeah, it was like a finger snap at like 7 a.m. this morning. So it must have been a very large move this morning. But regardless, so Ohio State will be one of the best per possession offenses Michigan has seen this season. Michigan, one of the few teams in the country. There might be one or two others at most actually that rank top 10 on offense and defense on a per possession basis. This is a true, and I don't want to say dark horse, but this is a true team that has potential to win the national championship this year. They are the type of team that could compete with a team like Baylor. Now Baylor obviously is just a machine, but again, when you look at the type of team that could beat Baylor, it'll be a team that really slows things down, plays good defense, can keep up on offense if the game runs out. The big thing with Michigan is they are tremendous guarding the 2, which a lot of your better teams in D1, they just aren't that good. They're good at usually defending the 3, not so much good at defending the 2. Michigan team's got a lot of big bodies. They're led by a pretty good scorer in is it Dickinson? Is that the guy that has the basically double-double? Is that him?
Double-double, baby.
Yeah, so he's strong. The big fault on Michigan is they really don't force turnovers, which is not something you usually see from called a national championship bound team. And they also don't really get to the free throw line. But with that said, so Ohio State coming in here at home. Now, Michigan State has won, 8-9 games in a row. They only dropped one at home, but now obviously no, Michigan's won a lot more than that in a row, actually. Hold on one second.
Michigan? What about the Wisconsin game?
They won the Wisconsin game. They only lost the Minnesota game. They stormed back in the second half of that game, Holden.
You know what? That's right, because I had Wisconsin in the first half, and then I jumped on Michigan -7. That's right. They came back and won that game. That was amazing, too, that it only took them 20 minutes to get back into the groove.
Yeah,
in the second half.
I watched a decent part of that. It seemed more like a Wisconsin letdown. But look, if you're Michigan, you take any win you can get. Yeah. So this game in particular, look, Ohio State is another team that people consider a dark horse. By the way, this is the best Big Ten conference in D1 that I can remember. When was the last time you've seen this many good Big Ten teams in the same year? I mean, it looks like we have 10 or 12 teams that are inside the top 30 in the Big Ten?
Because everyone else sucks. Everyone else stinks. It's only the Big Ten that's good anymore. It's crazy. But yeah, you also know this is the first time these two schools, they've met, both ranked top 5, like 100 and something times in football. But it seems like, but yeah, these guys, this is a monster matchup, dude. I'm excited about this. So keep going. Keep going. This
should be a good game. Now, ultimately, the person in me that typically likes to bet unders would lean that way. However, these two teams are tremendously efficient on the offensive end. So it really, to me, this is why I want no part of the total of this game. This is all going to be on how the refs decide to ref this game. If they let them play physical and they don't call chippy fouls, to me, there's no shot that's over. But if they start calling even average at best fouls or debatable at best fouls, this thing's going to easily go over because these two teams are very physical on the defensive end. So I'm interested to see how they call this game. But look, this is a very big test for this Michigan team. This be the best team they've played all year, and probably the best team Ohio State's played all year, right? I mean, they beat Illinois on the road a while back. They beat Iowa on the road. I mean, this Ohio State team is just a strong team, specifically on the offensive end. I'm just worried they're going to get a little bit exposed defensively against this squad. In terms of how this game breaks out, I told you about a few things that broke down Michigan on the Ohio State end. I mean, they really don't turn the ball over at all, but they also don't force turnovers, much like Michigan does. Really good at getting to the free throw line. So again, this plays back to the fouling situation. They're really good on the offensive glass. Just up and down, their offensive numbers are really top notch, which shows to prove why they're the third best offense as per KenPom. Really good from a 3-point attempt versus field goal attempts. They're actually below average in assists, which I'm wondering if that'll become an issue here with their lack of true ball movement against this stout Michigan defense. But either way, it should be a good one. I think overall, when I watched Michigan play that game against Wisconsin last week, I hadn't watched a lot of Michigan games. This team, in terms of their ball movement, is really good, and they have just a lot of scorers. Good big men, good guys who shoot well outside. Just overall, a very efficient offense. I haven't watched, as far as the eye test goes, a lot of Ohio State games, but as far as these numbers go, this team looks pretty pure efficiently. I do have some concerns over their lack of assists, though. Makes me think they don't move the ball as well as they should. That might come to a head today, but overall, should be a fun game to watch. I do believe the refs will dictate whether this game goes over or not today, which is really why I want no part of the total.
All right. So is there a lean in this, or this was just, hey, a lot of people are betting it, so let's talk about it?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit on both sides. I have no true lean in this game. But again, if you're thinking about betting the total, hopefully I at least deterred you from it. Watch the game a bit, see how the fouls look, and then maybe jump in live.
Nate Farmer says Jersey not as bad as it smells. Oh, there's a lot of Jersey that's farmland, isn't it? It's like beautiful out there. You probably live in one of the cesspools because it's New Jersey, but no one wants to go to Jersey. Like what's in Jersey, dude? Suburbs, DuPont chemicals, and what else? Farms? What's going on?
Atlantic City.
Like that thing should be in the ocean sooner than later, I'm sure. What a dump that was. Remember going to Atlantic City a long time ago?
You can actually smell Atlantic City from about 15 miles away.
Dude, seriously, when I was growing up, they had a massive problem with like hypodermic needles rolling up on the shore. Jersey's just disgusting. It's a horrible place, and I don't know why you live there. Can you move out somewhere? Come on out to Colorado, dude. It's great out here. It's relaxing.
A lot of family ties in Jersey. A lot of friends in Jersey. Yeah, it's kind of hard to just kind of pack it up and leave, but I'll think about it. Yeah,
you don't. No, you won't. And you don't want to miss Jimmy the Hammer too, right? Jimmy the Hammer is the guy that you definitely want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Was it like Sal the screwdriver? What the hell was his name?
Yeah, so Paulie the Hammer definitely doesn't live in Colorado.
Paulie the Hammer. What? How did he get the name the Hammer? Does he beat people up? Does he just crush women? What does he do?
I just made it up.
Get the hammer.
I just made it up.
Oh, it's not even a real person. You are not honest, and that is a.
It's a bad trait.
Jersey for you.
Bad trait. It's a really bad.
Have you been to did you go to the Jersey Shore like all the time? Like
yes, I went to Wildwood once a year. I went to Seaside. I would take day trips to Seaside. So Wildwood, I'd stay for like a week, but I would take day trips to Seaside. Atlantic City was something I started doing, like obviously after I turned 21. But I haven't been to Atlantic City probably in like 2 years. I know that COVID obviously stalled some things, but I haven't been to Atlantic City in like 2 years.
Place is a dump. Are they doing anything with Atlantic City? Seriously, last time I went was like 10 years.
They still have casinos, still a pretty gambling hotspot. But I think since betting became legalized, it just hasn't had the appeal for me personally. But ultimately, still go there to play some craps if you're into that.
All right, couple of questions here that we got, and then we'll get to St. Bonaventure and Davidson. Why can't Jersey bet Rutgers? Because that's how a lot of it is in college. I doubt you can bet Virginia in Virginia.
Yeah, you can't.
Highly
You
doubt
can't bet college sports states inside those selective states.
Yeah, you can't. You just can't do it. Cody wants to know what you think about Oral Roberts +2. Anything on that? It's not like a game. I don't think you're jamming Oral Roberts prep in before the show. I'm just going to ask you anyway.
That's correct. I'm definitely not prepared to talk.
What's their nickname? What's the Oral Roberts nickname?
They're the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, they shouldn't be that. Bill Self was there for a while. They should change their last names. Oklahoma, man, you don't want to go there. You think Jersey's bad? Try going to Oklahoma sometime. All right, you were saying?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't come prepared to talk on Oral Roberts. But I would just looking briefly. What's so funny, Holden? Just looking briefly.
I asked you that knowing that like neither one of us would even bother with Oral Roberts. There's so many other games that we're looking at, so I figured I just threw it out there to mess with you. But yeah,
looking briefly at it, it's hard not to like the over though. I know it's 159. What time's that game start? 3:30. I might dig deeper into that game myself because actually looking at that's usually a game I would never even begin to approach. But looking at some of the advanced stuff here, how this game doesn't shoot out would be hard to believe actually. Yeah. That would be my lean. I know that you wanted a more or less a pick, but my lean would be the over, especially if you have 159 hanging, which I currently see at FanDuel. I would lean that over. There's some pretty interesting things that poke out about these teams with how good they are offensively, how bad they are defensively. Or Robert's definitely going to speed this game up. There's a lot of decent sized factors for why it makes sense. I know it's a big number, but I would lean that over.
All right. We're halfway through the show. So, we still got more picks. So people aren't just going to go away, which is a good thing. But let me just bring this up to you. Do you remember the girls in high school that wanted to save their virginity by just having anal sex? You know any of those girls?
This show took a quick turn. It took a quick turn. Do I remember? Yes.
Halftime. Time to talk about anal sex. Okay, you were saying.
I answered.
Did you know those girls?
Yes, I knew a few.
Okay, a few.
A few.
Seriously?
What did you know? 30? I knew a few.
No, I didn't know any. I've just heard of it. I heard it was a thing. I feel like that's what Oral Roberts is that it's just a bunch of women and it's just anal all the time at Oral Roberts because they want to save their virginity for marriage. That's just my take on Oral Roberts. +2, no idea. JJ leans the over. I lean the anal. So anyways, Fat Win was unleashing his load on Drake's second half line -5.5 today. Okay.
The second half. So did they get their best player back yet? What's his name?
What's that?
Drake.
I don't even remember what game I asked you for.
Shanquan Hemphill has been out. Did he come back? Because if he hasn't, I don't see him back yet. If he hasn't come back, I'd argue the number is. I know Evansville's a bad team, but the numbers for this line is line about 15 for the full game.
12.5. I saw it at 12.5.
Well, 12.5 probably includes him not being there. So I guess I can't mind that. So offense is a little different without him. They're definitely not as good on the glass, and they're definitely not as good at not as efficient. I did like what they did against Northern Iowa though. So maybe they ride that energy right into this game. Again, specifically why the second half, I would assume you have numbers that say to you Drake slow starts and then piles away in the second half, which could be the case. But overall, will not be a spot I'm targeting. I don't want to target Drake without their best player laying more than double digits. But definitely see it. Evansville's not a good squad by any means, so I could see it.
There's another team I covered for a season, Drake, Des Moines, Iowa. They were not good at the time. They were horrible. And then what's his name came over there? Who was the guy that left? I think he left for Rhode Island a couple years later. It doesn't matter. That is an interesting place to watch some basketball. I'll just tell you that. Any thoughts on the under 140 A&M and Texas Southern? Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern? It's okay just to say no.
Yeah, I do not.
No, okay, very good. Hey, Eternal's Fiend says AC's running some pretty busy on the weekends. Okay, that's cool. What's up, you stinking clap tacos? Have you ever heard that one?
No, I like it though. You got to change it up. It's all about doing the name changing.
Yeah. What's with the blue waffle thing too? They said, "What's up, blue waffles?" Is that something? Is that a Jersey thing? Blue waffles?
I believe that's a sexual innuendo.
It doesn't even make sense.
I mean, Google it.
Can you explain that? It's a waffle. We're talking about waffles.
Yeah, I do believe it has a definite sexual. I don't remember.
Right. Again, you said that. Can you explain?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember. I think I learned that like 2 years ago. I was in a brothel.
Right, anybody has the blue waffle, please throw it in there. When's the fax man making another appearance? I don't know. I got a shit on him for his tennis, though. I mean, he only got one out of his 3 futures. Come on, man. And Bovada took down Oral Roberts as soon as he said the over. It's an STD, the blue waffle. Okay. Any thoughts on the Dayton St. Bonnie's game? Well, guess what? That is the next game that we're going to talk about right now. So let's get into this. Just some general thoughts on the Bonnies and Davidson. I saw St. Bonaventure at 4.5-point favorites with the total at 133. I don't know what you got it right now, but these are two of the better teams in what, the A10. So let's get it. Let's get going.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, again, I want to be clear, not a bet I'm going to make, but I do lean the Bonnies in this spot. So they come off a bad loss. I don't want to say a bad loss against VCU, but a loss against VCU on the road. This team at home, though, just an absolute machine. And I'm interested in your thoughts on this in general, Holden, that a lot of people thought this year home road crowds wouldn't matter. But I'd argue it matters just as much this year as it ever has. You have a lot of these teams with home road splits that you're like, how is this even possible? How is this team so good at home and so bad on the road in empty gyms? What do you think? What do you think is being attributed to that?
I just can't see that there's any home court advantage personally. And no, listen, I went to Kansas. It's the number one home court advantage. They just don't have it this year. You tell me. You got an answer to this? I don't got it. I got no answer to this. I think it goes school to school, to be honest with you. I think it's more of a micro than a macro.
I do. Okay, I like that. A little psychology there. Yeah, I mean, I can't pinpoint it, but I know that the numbers are what they are. There are still a lot of teams in college basketball this year, despite no crowds, that play so much better in their own gym versus on the road. It doesn't make
Oral Roberts got canceled. Hold on, sorry about that. Oral Roberts got canceled. Is that what they just said?
Yeah, looks like it.
Oh, there you go. That's why I was taken down off Bovada.
Hate to see
Don't bet it. No, there it is. Positive COVID test. Okay, back to the crowd. How do you work with me? Seriously, how do you work with me? Normally during the week, I'm like focused. With you, I'm just all over the place. How are you doing this? Are you regretting it yet?
No, it's all about me just recalibrating every few seconds.
The host is supposed to be the one that recalibrates now. All right, so home court advantage. Where were you?
Yeah, I was just saying that it's been surprising to me how good some of these teams are at home and how head-scratching they can be on the road, despite no crowd influence, which I think should make people next year. I know it's only a 1-year sample, which isn't gigantic, but look, home crowds matter, of course. But I mean, it hasn't seemed to matter, especially in certain conferences this year. Just certain teams play good at home. They don't play good on the road, comfortable in their own gym, uncomfortable elsewhere. So I just found it interesting this year that I assumed there would be a decent sized drop off in home road splits. And in a lot of conferences, there just hasn't been.
I think the teams that had the most home court advantage, probably, I bet you if you looked at the numbers, they took a hit. Duke, Kansas, some of the other big schools that have a massive home court advantage. I think that's where it is. But if we're talking about, Davidson, how rowdy is the Davidson crowd there? Are they always selling out? How rowdy is the Bonnie's crowd?
I'll tell you what, and you might have been, I mean, just because I know you're well-traveled, St. Mary's gym is a relatively small gym, but it's like super loud because of how compact it is. So I'm interested in that. Like, I assume you've been to a decent size of these college gyms. St. Mary's is a gym that's relatively small, but when they pack it up, it's loud. Yeah. How much impact do you think that has versus a school like Duke that can still fill it up, but just much larger?
Yeah, but like Duke, they're right on you too. Duke is just crazy. I get it. St. Mary's is like that, but Duke is like a small school. It's not a very big place. It's a small arena. The broadcasters got to do it from the roof. I mean, literally, it's the only place that I know where literally the crowd, the student section is on you. Like they could touch the player if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's a different situation. I noticed KU has not played very well at home. Kentucky just hasn't been good until yesterday, but they probably haven't been as good at home either. So I think the teams with the more home court advantage are the ones that are probably going to suffer more than anything else.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
But no numbers to back it up. We're just discussing here. But
okay, so back to Davidson St. Bonnie's. Should be a fun game. I mean, relatively, these are two teams that play very, very slow. This game reminds me a little bit of Michigan, Ohio State, but these two teams actually play a lot slower. These are two of the slowest paced teams in the country, two of the slowest adjusted tempos in the country. But offensively, extremely efficient, both teams. Davidson's not only the most efficient team in this conference, they're the 21st most efficient team in D1. They're always a good, efficient offense, though. So that doesn't surprise me. Defensively, definitely not a good defense by any stretch. They're seventh best in this conference. And St. Bonnie's should be a good test for them on the offensive end. Now, what St. Bonnie's does really well, or where they do really well, is on the offensive glass. Davidson is super good at defending it. They're actually best in the country. There are some concerns, though, that make me head scratch a bit. So first of all, St. Bonnie's might not be the best defense in this conference, but they are well above average, third best, and they're still one of the better defenses in the country. Going to be a bit of a test there for Davidson. And again, St. Bonnie's at home hasn't lost once all season. And I thought they played VCU relatively well. I know that they lost a game that I felt they shouldn't have, but I still felt they played really well. They competed for the most part with St. Louis a few games back. This is just a good spot with them coming back home, where they're just a better team. Goes back to our home road discussion from before, Holden. This team just plays a lot better at home. Now, they're going to get tested on the defensive end with how well Davidson moves the ball. This team's one of the best teams overall at finding open jump shooters, and they have a ton of good shooters. They're also very good inside the arc, seventh best in the country. But overall, I do think St. Bonnie's is very content to play at Davidson's slow pace. And I think on a per-possession basis, St. Bonnie's should be able to slow this team down offensively and then be able to certainly keep pace with them defensively. I think this game is going to be won and lost on St. Bonnie's offensive glass, to be honest. Davidson's really good at defending it, but they certainly haven't played a team that's this good on it. So interested to see how that plays out. But I do think St. Bonnie's is going to get theirs in the offensive glass, as they always do, despite how good Davidson is there. Maybe a few extra hometown calls. Either way, I'd lay the small number with St. Bonnie's.
By the way, if you haven't watched Kyle Lofton, that'll be Kenny Lofton. Kyle Lofton, that's kind of fun. He's a fun guy to watch. About 15 points per game. Does a little bit of everything. If you play college DFS, you know who Kyle Lofton is. But I mean, you really think the Bonnie's defense has been good to this point? They're giving up 63.5 points a game, 67 last week to VCU. You're okay with the St. Bonaventure defense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a team that, they're 39th in the country at defending the three. They're 45th in the country defending the two. Yeah. 21st in effective field goal percentage in the country. There's a few things they don't do well. They're not very good at defending the offensive glass, but that shouldn't be a big issue because Davidson's not that good on it. They're slightly.
Both teams suck at the line. Both teams suck at the free throw line too. That's a little bit concerning. It's
definitely concerning if you're betting an over. But St. Bonnie's does shoot nearly 73% from the line as a team. So they should have a few guys that shoot near 80%. I always whenever I see teams that shoot that number, it's always tough to weigh it in that fashion, right? Because if you have a game where a big man who shoots 50% from the line is getting hacked underneath and he attempts 20 free throws and goes 8 for 20, that impacts your entire team's numbers. Whereas late in the game, you have two guys who shoot 80% who are able to eat up all the free throws late. So it is, as a team, you don't like to see that, but I typically like to look for 3 or 4 guys in particular that shoot above 74, 75%, where if it's a game late, those guys can put it away.
Yeah, hopefully you're learning some stuff from JJ too, because listen, I've been betting college basketball for a while, but I've been working with this guy and even the last couple of weeks. Let's see here. We got some other totals here. That's about it. Don't eat blue waffle. That's disgusting. Please never bring that up on the show. I've said some gross things before. Awful.
I tried to warn you. I don't remember what it was, but I knew you weren't going to be looking at rainbows.
Well, I did not see it. I just read the description, and it looks awful. Did we have another game we were going to get into? I
never typed your best bet.
Yeah, what was it? It was Rutgers minus. Well, now I got it at 4, but it's at 4.5. So just put 4.5 down. Rutgers minus 4.5. I probably think it could push at 5 even, but Rutgers coming up there. If you want a sex story, I need 10 yeses within the next minute. If you don't, it's not a big deal.
in the next minute, like they gotta, like if they're listening to this from their kitchen, they gotta sprint to their keyboard to type it in.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Just sprint, and that's 60, it. Yeah.
60 seconds. We're down to 50.
Yeah, we're down to 50. Yeah, Leroy, what's my best bet? That's right. It's going to be Rutgers minus 4.5. A lot of pressure on me here. 1-0, trying to go for the undefeated mark this season, JJ. I never lose at college basketball. So because I tail you and I bet one time last week, so I'm undefeated.
Hey,
actually, Virginia did screw us yesterday. I'm not getting. That was, people say bad beat. That was just a shit beat, is what that was. Not good. No bueno. Very frustrating.
I'm rarely double vested in a game like that where I have the team total and the team. And to fall one basket short with 3 minutes left for them to score one basket. And in a team that's good at closing games out, like this is a team that's built to close games out. They're well coached. They have experience. Just super tilting. But all in all, shit happens.
All right. No sex story today, which is fine. Because like I said, we just got a lot going on here. I'll tell you when in private if you need it, but usually you get grossed out. So I'm not even
you can slide in my DMs and you can slide in Holden's DMs and he'll give you all the updates.
Yeah, hit me in my DM. Yeah, you can do. I'll give you an update. I'll give you a couple updates. It's kind of, there's some funny things that are going on these days. Being in your 40s and single, so much different than being in your early 30s and single. Like you right now, the fact that you're getting married, basically. People don't like to hear this, but don't do it, JJ. Put it off as long as you can. As long as you can, buddy. Just keep pushing it back. Did you give her a ring yet?
It was over a year ago.
Oh, you still haven't gotten married?
Well, it's been held up
because of COVID.
Yeah, but you take the baby steps.
Yeah, there's two guys I'm very concerned about. It's you and JSU, both of you. It's like you're the same age. You're being pushed to get married. I know you actually want to get married. He doesn't. I'm sure it would just be a horrible idea. But I'm going to try and help you out here, save you some money. Because half of the winnings you get are going over there.
I want to go on record that if JSU's lovely lady is watching this, JSU wants to get married. Holden was just.
No, he doesn't.
Holden was just.
There's no way.
Holden was just kidding around.
There's no way JSU come on and get married. Could you? You know what happened when I got married? I stopped watching every single sport. I was down to like Sundays in the NFL, Monday Night Football on Thursday. I'd have to hear it. I tried to make me guilty all the time. Can't watch as much baseball. Forget about March Madness. It was like, there's two teams that I could watch. It was awful. Just be careful, man. Be careful. Watch your step. No blue waffle.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll avoid the blue waffles. That's for sure.
All right. Anything else we want to get to before we're out of here? I got to go drive to the airport soon. It's gonna suck.
No, I have no more games I wanted to touch on. We got on most of the questions, right? I know that one of them, the Texas.
I don't see any more questions. JJ does have a bet for the for a game today. I guess there's a UNLV game. We're not going to give out the pick. But again, if you sign up, you get it. And it's not only him. It's like we got player props, we got tennis, we got NBA, college basketball, baseball's coming up. I mean, there's so many different things that we're betting on right now. JJ, there is another question. What do you think about South Florida today? Have you?
So one of my issues with the American Conference as a whole, and I know I like Houston in there, Houston's team total today. But one of my issues with this conference as a whole is you have teams like Temple that want to speed things up, but they're just so terrible on offense. And like for instance, you look at this game, right? You get two good defensive teams. The game's being played in Temple though, so you'd figure Temple's gonna try to pick up the pace here or move it at a little quicker pace than they would like on a road game. In South Florida, I remember correctly, this team should be really long. Yeah, so they're 21st in the country in length. I'd assume it's going to be really tough for Temple to find success offensively against this team. With that said, Temple's also pretty good defensively. I would lean the under, but we've had some surprising totals in this conference recently where certain teams end up going for 80. Kind of like what happened with UCF in South Florida in their last game. And then Temple, hold on 1 second. And then Temple has given up 70 plus in 4 straight and 4 of their last 5. So it's kind of pushed me off the under. And I don't know if these games have predominantly become foul fests late, but as far as tempo goes and inefficient offenses, I would lean the under in this game. But I am scared off a bit by some of these inflated totals recently. Kind of makes me think that defense has taken a back seat overall in this conference on certain teams, specifically a team like Temple. So overall, I guess I would lean the other way in terms of South Florida, but not enough by any means to like it. I do feel like there's a lot of variance in the parity that exists within this conference.
You know how excited I am for March Madness? Every year I get excited. Now they got some fans. We're going to have fans in the stands too. We got some news on that. It's not going to be a packed house, but I was very worried that the underdog would not have any would not get their little boost from home crowd advantage, and it looks like we'll get a little bit of that. Is that really your dad, TikTok Hall of Fame? I don't believe it.
I don't even think my
dad doesn't know what TikTok is.
TikTok is.
Yeah, he has no clue. So I don't know who you are, you imposter, but don't do it. Jerry says Bonnie's minus 4.5, PSU, Penn State plus 11? Question mark.
So what is that like in a?
You don't bet the Big Ten. Screw it.
Is that like an adjusted teaser? I mean,
what?
Penn State.
I don't know. I know that Penn State is plus
Iowa.
11.
Penn State's playing Iowa, right?
Yeah, listen, that's to me the most overrated team out there besides Garza. These guys give him no help whatsoever. They could score a ton. That's great. Way to go. But they also can't they can't do anything else now.
I do believe it if the matchups fall properly in terms of, not a lot of Big Ten seeing each other before the Sweet 16. There's a real chance you get like 6 or 7 teams in the Sweet 16 from the Big Ten.
God, that's so much. That is so much, man. Penn State's still kind of in the mix. They're 7-11, right? But they're 40 in the net rankings. They still got stuff to play for too. It would be cool if we had like Kentucky and Duke in the NIT, and then they put Bill Walton on the call. How amazing would that be? I would watch the NIT for once. You probably bet on the NIT at this point, don't you?
Yeah, certain times. I mean, ultimately, I definitely prefer the bracket, but the NIT in between is always fun.
Yeah. What about Coastal Carolina? Or did we even answer the Iowa thing here? PSU, Penn State plus 11, Bonnie's minus 4.5.
I did say I lean the Bonnies. As for Penn State, that's a spot I'm just completely avoiding.
Okay. Coastal Carolina. Any thoughts on Coastal Carolina? Leroy Flood wants to know. What up, Leroy?
Yeah, so Coastal Carolina, definitely a spot where I lean the over. That was a game I looked at. I think Coastal Carolina is going to speed this Georgia Southern team up. And Georgia Southern has been a team that when they do play teams that play at a quick tempo, they have no issue conceding that along with them. So even I know it's I would have liked it more at the opener, but this was a game I looked at specifically last night. And even at the 141.5, which currently exists on FanDuel, I do lean that over. I'd personally prefer to jump into the second half if these two teams start slow. But overall, I do lean that game over.
So then we got Colgate and BU question. Colgate's off to, we say a start. They've won 10 of 11 already. On the other side, you've got a BU team, Boston team that I think has struggled to this point. So it's the second time they played this year. And BU's playing better because didn't they start like 1-5? I don't know why I have watched a little bit of these two teams, to be honest with you. It's just been on my TV a couple of times. So there you go. But do you have a lean here?
Yeah, I would lean laying the 10.5 with Colgate. First of all, Colgate's been a little bit fortunate when you look at their schedule. They've played Holy Cross 4 times. This will be the 4th time they played Boston, and they've played Army 4 times. So this team hasn't really played a whole lot of teams in this conference. This conference didn't get shrunk, right? No, so it's just that I'm sure it's COVID related. and they're going to play Holy Cross 2 more times. So they're
10.5 too.
Yeah, so their schedule is going to be Holy Cross 6 times. I do think they have a systematic edge, though, versus this Boston team. They've beaten them 3 times, 2 of those by double digits. Even the one was like an 8 or 9 point win. They're just a lot better than this team on the offensive end, and certainly better on the defensive end. This is a team that ranks almost 150 spots better than them offensively, and then another 150 spots better than them defensively. Over the course of 40 minutes, I know that there's been a few times where they've kind of hiccuped versus this team, but I would strongly lean laying the 10.5. And by the way, I don't lay double digits often in college. I just hate doing it. I think you find yourself stressing more than anything. But overall, I would lean the laying the number.
Oh, you want to stress today? Tell me on this this Rutgers Maryland game. I was saying this when I was digging in. I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be. I don't even want to watch this game. I don't want anything to do. I don't want to look at it. It's just that everything added up to Rutgers being the team to back in this one. But there's just some games I don't want to watch. I didn't want to watch Virginia last night in the second half. That was so stressful, man. It really was, but it's also fun. Brian Smith thinks Bill Walton's a tool. What are you talking about? This guy's a national treasure, man. I mean, the only time I don't like Bill Walton is when he's calling a game that I like, the team that I like, that I root for. But outside of that, like if I'm watching Colgate and Boston, if they could put him on that call, I would watch the whole game. He's nuts, man. He's out there. I like that. So it's just that's my spiel, buddy.
I see you asked about Ryder, William. So here's my issue, and I've seen this a lot this year, more than I can remember, and it's probably because of course, the way scheduling works. I'm very used to seeing 2 teams play each other at different parts of the season, with usually a 5 or 6 at minimum games between them. So like, for instance, Ryder plays Quinnipiac yesterday or 2 days ago. And then they play them again today. They get blown out by them 2 days ago, and then they play them again today. It's very often you used to see in college prior to this year that a team might get whipped by another team. And then 2 weeks later, when they start getting in better form, they play them again, and then they whip them. The problem this year is because they're doubling up these games often with the scheduling, we're seeing a lot of teams get beaten bad twice in a row or win big twice in a row. And I think it has more to do with not so much to do with, the bounce back or lack thereof. I think it has more to do with certain teams getting in better or worse form as the year goes on. And when you're playing teams back to back, if you're in bad form, it's not like you're playing a bad game and then that next game, boom, good form, and then you're back to normal. I've seen a lot this year where teams get double losses playing the same team. Now they play Quinnipiac here again. There might be some line value with Ryder potentially. But I didn't like what I saw from this team yesterday. Quinnipiac's very good defensively. They are a bit smoke and mirrors though, because KenPom has them as the 3rd best effective field goal percentage on defensively, but they play in a conference with a bunch of teams that can't shoot. It's not to discredit what they're doing. I mean, they've been really good on the defensive end. They're definitely the best defense in this conference, or one of at least. However, Ryder really struggled to score yesterday, and I'd assume they're going to struggle again, whereas Quinnipiac had a bunch of good looks, totaling them up to 80 points. Could you get a similar output from both, where Quinnipiac blows his team out again? It's possible. The normal betting in me would want to lean Ryder in this spot, but again, I've seen countless times this year where teams get double banged on these losses because of the scheduling and teams just not being in proper form. It didn't look like Ryder was prepared yesterday to play this game. I can't imagine they spin around and play again today. Quinnipiac's come off 2 wins in a row where they've looked really good offensively. That win against Iona, probably their best win of the season. They followed it up with a big win over Ryder. Maybe they get a little complacent here, but regardless, it's going to be a stay away spot for me.
All right, buddy. That's it. $15. How do they get the $15 for a week? Because there's a really big play today. I've got a lot on. I told you I made my biggest bet ever the other night. This will be my second biggest bet I've ever made. Tailing JJ here on this one. So yeah, how do they get in for a week?
Yeah, and I'm gonna add another play in our Discord today. I often add plays live that I see in games that I'll usually in between halftime. I'm not adding live plays in like the middle of a possession. Usually add them as a second half play or a live or live.
Imagine that.
But I give people 15, 20 minutes to get the bets in. But yeah, runpurebets.com, sign up, bets 25 off. You do it for a month, it'll be 45 for the month, or you do it for the week, it'll be 15 for the week. Like I said, just try it out. If you don't like it, it's only $15. And you don't get my stuff, you get everybody's on the team stuff. guys that, of course, cover UFC, more college basketball, more NBA, props, NASCAR, soccer, as well as in our Discord. So just a bunch of stuff all around for things we cover. But yeah, other than that, thanks for hanging out with us today. Holden, thanks as always. Good luck to us. As you guys know, my best bet, Houston's team total over 74.5, minus 106. At FanDuel, Holden's best bet, Rutgers minus 4.5 against Maryland at home. But other than that, guys, as always, gamble responsibly. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and stay safe.